back again from the Decode Podcast booth here at Apex 2026. We're joined by our new friend, and very much so friend, because he just brought us some Swiss chocolates, Olivier Carnal from Essemtec. And welcome aboard. We had the opportunity to get into your booth yesterday and check out some of the very cool things. I have to compliment, I don't know whose idea it was, but the little stuffed animals that represented the name of each machine, right? There was the fox, there was a tarantula. Very cool touch. So whoever did that, good work. Welcome aboard.
Yes, thank you very much for giving me the chance to talk to you. Cozy environment. So we brought our zoo with us, as you said. So almost our complete zoo. So we have the tarantula here, the puma, the fox. We just left the spider and the lizard at home, but otherwise all our animals are here.
Yeah, it was really neat to see your equipment in movement, but also feel it. And what I mean by that is the acceleration on some of these platforms. You could physically feel it in the soles of your shoes. Like, these things are flying around.
Yeah, the acceleration on them is nuts.
Absolutely. So it's a Tesla on 4 feet. So we have 3G and 3 meters a second. So that's quite impressive. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it was to say the least too, because the way it moved, right? It was faster than the human eye could see. It wasn't even like a trail. It was like just there before you even knew. And in the beginning, it was like doing that epoxy, I believe, around it, right?
Exactly.
And then also, poof, it was off to the next one, right?
Exactly.
It was the speed I've never seen before. My favorite part though was when Elias said, "Where do I load the stencil?" Right?
You're a professional. Deformation, or how do you call it in French? You say déformation professionnelle. So you've worked with stencil too long in your life. So that there's something in your brain that you cannot change anymore.
We say Stockholm syndrome here.
Or Stockholm syndrome, exactly.
Yeah, but no, the platform being able to dispense and do pick and place and all that. You guys showed us a really cool video of that tower of capacitor, that ring tower of capacitors you built, where it has every component it places, it then has to map the height of that component so that it can dispense and place properly on the next one. And I mean, it just kept going up and around and around.
At the very end,
and then
right in the middle.
Exactly. So it's a micro Lego playground.
Yeah.
But of course, it's not just a game. No, it's also very important for today's challenges. You want to miniaturize and put more elements on a small space. So you want to stack components. And for this, it's very important that you can measure the height of the already existing components so that you can stack on top of each other. So we made fun of it by stacking 10 components. But it's a real challenge also for power supplies and in smartphones. You want to integrate 2 capacitors or 2 resistances on top of each other.
Yeah.
And it's a challenge that you're facing that you cannot solve with standard stencil printing.
And I was impressed too, like the one we were looking at over in the corner over there, it had, I believe, 4 valves. It kind of looked like you had an A, B, and then you had 2 more off to the side too.
Correct.
And that was the tarantula?
I don't know.
Exactly. So one of our animals, the tarantula, correct. So this tarantula can hold 3 different dispense technologies. So the one that you see here has 4 valves, as you said. The one in the center is the latest and greatest of Essemtec, is the 2-component capability, where we can mix 2 components on site and have a very precise volumetric dispensing.
Yeah, like 10 to 1, you said, right?
10 to 1, yes. A real challenge, because you think 10 to 1 is not so challenging, but if you are having 1 milligram on one side, you have to 10 times more and be very accurate. No, 10% error on the small part is already a big error. So. Yeah. And then we have also underfilled dispensing that we're showing here, and any other technology that you would like to add.
Underfill's becoming more and more of a request lately. I see like that's definitely taking off around here with all that stuff that's going on right there. Last year at SMTAI, you guys were debuting that you achieved over 1 million dots per hour.
1 million dots per hour.
Wow.
Exactly.
And the feedback is from everybody that's just hanging in there, that's true and everything like that.
Exactly.
Like, wow.
So this 1 million is always the threshold when people start really thinking of using dispensing versus stencil printing. And so 1 million means 300 hertz, so 300 dots a second. So while it's flying over the surface at the fraction of a millimeter, it shoots.
The
consistently.
timing there, right?
The
'Cause it's
timing.
non-contact,
So we're
right,
talking about
as it's flying.
milliseconds. Yeah, absolutely. So you have to be at the right time at the right location. Otherwise, you will have the dots anywhere on the substrate.
And I was telling Pierre too, like the cool part is you guys are actually able to film that, right? Like the videos that you guys are seeing, and I take extra. I appreciate it more than probably they would. Like how hard of a shot it is that they just did with the camera, right? Like, and to get what they did and how they did, like the just even building the Stonehenge,
Yes,
right? Like it was just so cool to see. Of the components and then you can see the little dispensing right on top of those passives.
Or on the die when it was pasting, it was dispensing onto the die and then populating components onto it.
The Fox platform was pretty surprising to me in that it actually has a ton of flexibility for a kind of small, self-contained, all-in-one. The fact that you could just dump loose components into those little trays and
little pieces of cut tape.
Yes,
exactly.
that is, and I think that addresses the very real challenges that you guys deal with, right? Like, it's not always a beautiful reel, right? Sometimes it's a Ziploc bag with a couple of loose components in it. So,
especially if you're doing like a first article run and you're only going to do like 10 pieces or something, you know, you don't always, if they don't have it fully proven out on the design side, you may not want to buy full reels of everything on their BOM, right?
Exactly. So we saw that mainly during the pandemic. You know, it was very difficult to get full tapes. So you had to live with strips.
With what you could get.
What
and you
could
were
get.
happy to
Exactly.
have it. At least you got something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we have strip feeders, we have these loose component feeders, and just addressing this, this difficult period of getting parts at the right time. So,
The polarity part too of that was pretty cool. That it would actually like read the text on there, right? And
Yeah,
then-
you had a tray. You had a tray with some QFPs on it, and they were all at different orientation. And you said it would be able to recognize. You could teach it character recognition, so it would understand what direction it was within the tray. And I believe you said it would pick up all of them and correct
and
it.
correct
right?
the angle. Correct.
Because some platforms will recognize if it's not in the right polarity, but for some reason they won't pick it up and correct
And
it.
we'll
They'll just
just-
skip it. So that's nice that you'll actually be able to exhaust your full tray with confidence. It'll all be placed in the right orientation, regardless if there was some sort of snafu on the packaging side where they didn't get everything set up right. But,
'Cause sometimes you'll pull those trays out and they'll pop out on you.
yeah.
And then the operator will go in and try to reload it and not pay attention to what's going on.
our operators always do.
Okay. Well, you got to teach me.
That's
what
why
that means.
vision is so important, so that you can correct the human errors. So, no, but I would like to come back to the fox. So, again, our smallest, not the smallest animal, but the more flexible animal. So it's a all-in-one tool where you can do dispensing and pick and place. And this is a unique proposition that we have to the market. Instead of buying two tools, one doing the dispensing and one doing the pick and place, you can do both in one. And what we see also in these compact packages or system in package, you don't want to move the parts in that whole process. So you want to do the dispensing, pick and place, and do the dispensing while the board is not moving. And normally you would have to move from one machine to the other with all the errors that can happen. So
Yeah, my comment looking at the Fox was it's a reflow oven away from a complete SMT line. Right?
You know, one thing I was always curious is when I run the SPI and through a stencil, I always see the slope of the stroke direction of the blade, right? And with yours, that wouldn't be there, I would assume, right? Because there's no stroke direction.
yes.
Yeah, right? Like,
Correct.
so that's got to look, I'm just so curious what it looks like under the SPI. Like,
Well, the platform's
Yes.
doing solder paste inspection on the fly. correct?
Exactly. So we call it 2D SPI. So I think this is important. If you're doing two processes in one machine, you want to know that the first process was done correctly before you start the second one. So that's why we integrated this solder paste inspection. It's not a full-fledged 3D, but in most cases it does its job. So I always say we have 5 processes in the machine. Now we do the dispensing of solder paste, dispensing of glue. We do the solder paste inspection, pick and place, and then AOI on the same machine. So, but I say it's not just a game. It's really important if you want to do 2 processes in one machine.
Especially the epoxy. I'm getting like a ton of heavier components these days, and sometimes they'll put those heavy guys on the side. I need to reflow. Yeah, right. So then I worry all the time if it's going to go through the reflow the second time.
Will they all still be there, or is that board going to come off?
So to be able to paste and then drop that glue down there, right, and then not have to worry about it afterwards.
What I think about even more than that is the rework potential, being able to dispense paste locally on a like if you had a missing component or a component that had to get replaced, and you can actually take a populated board and selectively choose where you want to dispense the paste and then place the component again. If you had the pads cleaned up and ready for the placement, you'd be able to dispense just in that local spot, pick and place the component perfectly accurately, and be done with the repair, right?
Yes, repair is becoming more and more important because the price of the components is increasing. Now you don't want to throw those components which are worth several thousand US dollars away. So you really want to take a populated board and then dispense at the right spot and put the components back on. And we have a special technology, so long nozzles, so that we can go through those populated boards without touching the other components. I think this is very important.
Frank was showing us too the BGA reballing.
Yes.
Like, that's so great because it's a sphere. You're picking up a circle.
Exactly. We're picking up spheres. Yes,
Exactly.
exactly. And small spheres, down to 250 microns. So
Yeah.
it's really small. Again, that's one of the trends that we're seeing today. You have BGAs with 10,000s of connections. And so if one connection is not working, what are you doing with this component? So it's nice to have a rework possibility. So you move all the balls, put flux again on top, and then you take these tiny little balls and put them at the right location and put it onto the reflow oven. So that's
the video I've seen. It doesn't do it slowly either.
No.
Right?
Yes, exactly.
That's the even crazy.
If you want to do that manually, that's a tough job. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So you were kind enough to gift us a Swiss Army knife, and we kind of made the reference a couple of times at the booth that, a lot of your pieces of equipment are kind of like a Swiss Army knife. I thought that was clever, and thanks for the knife.
Exactly. So see, it's a wrong brand on the box. You have to open it. So this is the right brand.
Yeah, there you go.
That's cool.
So Victorinox is the manufacturer of the knife, and we are the distributor. So
that is very cool.
now I like that term, because it shows both also the flexibility but also the quality. So normally when you talk about Swiss Army knife, it's about quality, it's about repeatability and all the different functions in one single tool. So I love that very much.
How many different applications have you guys solved with your dispensing? I mean, because I know you have silver paste, you have regular solder, you have glues and epoxies and the underfills and everything. Where's the limit?
That's a good question. If I had to list all the different applications, I think we would be here till tomorrow.
Yeah. How about just the weirdest, most off-the-wall thing that you've dispensed?
I think the craziest thing I have seen is to dispense glue on glue on glue on glue. So you can do aspect ratio of 20 to 1, so you can build out of a liquid a tower.
Because sometimes you have these components that need the glue, but they have a really high standoff. And how do you get the glue up to them?
Exactly.
Hold them
So
there?
that's a nice thing. You can dispense on top of each other. Other crazy thing is doing the sandwich. So you take a board, you do solder paste, you put the balls, you put solder paste on the balls. And then you put the BJ on top. So you have a sandwich that you then put through the oven, and you have all the balls at the right place at very high speed. So it's also quite crazy, but it works.
Yeah. Placing spheres is, I know you said it earlier, but it's like...
Domed LEDs are hard enough.
Yeah,
right?
They've got flat bottoms.
Now you're going to make the whole entire thing circle, right? Like, But one of the videos we seen too was like a QFN almost, right? And it would look like it was upside down.
Exactly.
And then you guys were able to put capacitors and
other components
on top of that was just pasted down there. I was like, this is insane.
Yeah, nuts.
No, this is system in package. So you normally know system in package on wafer level. And now we can do that also with SMD components. As you said, you have a QFN, and then on top you put an LED or other device, small capacitors, 01, 005, really tiny stuff. And then you have everything. No, normally floor space on the PCB is limited. So you don't want to put all the components side by side. No, why not use the Z axis now to put stuff on top? Yeah.
Because who would have a machine that could dispense paste and the component on it, right? Like
Exactly.
like
exactly.
It's very,
So
that's it.
You'd need a Swiss Army knife to do that.
Right? There's no other way around it.
Now, that's, I think, one of the things now that with dispensing, which is completely different from stencils, is people have to learn what is possible with dispensing so that they can adapt their own product to that new technology. So I think we have not even exploited all the possibilities that are out there.
Naturally adaptive.
Naturally adaptive.
Well,
We hire you as our new sales and marketing guy.
You have to allow
if your
him to
platforms
continue on
are
the
good
podcast.
enough, I might need a job. to make stencils for a living.
I cannot get rid of the stencils here, I think.
Well, we really appreciate the time that you gave us in the booth and having you here on board.
As you said, we are Swiss, but we have a very strong American team. Perhaps also good to mention that Frank Hart joined us last year. He's a person that almost everybody knows in the industry, so he's leading
Small
out.
personality.
Very small personality and
Quiet
you
guy.
you cannot.
You can't find him in a room.
You cannot find him in the room. Exactly. So he joined last year, and he's managing the operations here in North America. So we have operations on the East Coast, close to Boston, and one here in San Jose. So depending on whether you like snow or the beach, you go to Boston.
You have
or you
either
go to
one.
Either one, exactly.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, we certainly appreciate Essemtec always supporting the podcast. And, it's easy for us to talk about this stuff because it's so genuinely interesting. It's one of those booths that we just kind of, ooh and ah at. So
I thought after SMTA they weren't going to wow me again, and you wowed me again. Like, there's no
Exactly.
question about it.
awesome. Thank you so much. And thanks for tuning in.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much.